Hey guys, and welcome to the first monthly Q&A session here on the Pause in Pursuit podcast. That was weird, I didn't do my normal intro. That felt bizarre. Anyway, I'm Summer Clark, most of you probably know. Welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast. I'm your host. I was just that excited about this new thing that we're doing here on the podcast. But anyway, I have decided, and I did mention this on last week's episode, that now the first episode of every month I'm going to do a Q&A session. So I'm going to ask you guys over on my Instagram at Pause in Pursuit on stories to ask me questions about literally anything that you want to know, whether that be just things you're interested in about me or my life, or training tips, agility tips, competing tips, etc. Handler fitness, nutrition, anything, psychology, anything that I've spoken about, or anything I haven't spoken about, you can ask me every month and I will sit down right now and answer all of them. So this month we will be discussing topics such as Team GB, that was a popular one, Olympia prep, dealing with pressure, and a lot more. So let's dive into it. But before we do, life update, injury update. Honestly, not healing as fast as I wanted it to. Still can't fully walk normally, still not putting full pressure on the right foot, because when I do, it almost feels like I'm walking on concrete, but it's not where the actual fracture is. It's almost like under my toes in the ball of my foot. So I'm wondering if there's something else going on with the nerves that's been caused by the stress fracture. So going to try and go back to the doctors and see if anything else is going on. It's definitely better than it was, but it's been 6 weeks since I first had the pain and a month since I got diagnosed with the stress fracture. So really, I was hoping it'd be like better by now. But it's fine. We've still got a solid month and 3 weeks until Olympia, so it's totally fine. In fact, I think we have, let me have a look how long we have until Olympia, 43 days, okay? So it should be fine, but I'll keep you guys updated. What else has been going on in my life? Oh yeah, I've kind of taken up biking as my form of cardio. Quite enjoying it, to be fair. Just like half an hour or so every day, nice slow pace with my AirPods in, listening to a podcast. Good vibes, good times. Doing what we can, is what it is, until I can walk and run again. Anyway, what else have I done? Course running at Lucy's, yes. So I finally got to go and let Arrow do some course running the other day for the first time in a couple of months. So I took him to Lucy's field. We hired it. And yeah, I basically did some course running while I walked around at a very large distance from Arrow. And he was actually really good. Like, I'm very impressed. His distance skills are coming on very well after all of it with my Achilles tendonitis last year, and then now with this stress fracture. He's pretty much getting, he's getting two winters worth of independence distance handling training. So hopefully it'll pay off, as frustrating as it is. But he was pleased about that, bless him. And also, which I actually advertised before last week's episode, but I don't think I mentioned on the podcast, me and Demi Wright, shout out, are doing a workshop on the 18th of January. You've probably seen it on my social media. If not, then head over there and you'll see the flyer on my feed. But yeah, if you want to get involved and you want to come to our workshop in January to kickstart the new year in the best way, then we would love to have you. We are catering to absolutely all levels, 3 hours per dog, and you get 1.5 hours with each of us. And yeah, max 6 per group, and it's only £60 per dog for 3 hours of training. So gonna let you all in on a bit of a secret. That is a huge bargain, okay? That is a huge bargain. So that's happening and I'm excited. So yeah, please do get in touch if you would like to book on. But I think that's everything that's going on in my life at the moment. Just still, trying to keep my head above water, not go totally insane, having a few mentee bees every now and again. But what can you do? Time's just passing. And I just have to keep reminding myself that this too shall pass, as they say. But yeah, shall we jump into the Q&A of the month then? So, number one, someone asked, what do Team GB training days usually consist of? So, there's 2 or 3, I can't remember now, 2, I think, Team GB days leading up to the championships, for EO anyway. That's all I have experience of. And it's basically just an opportunity for the entire team and management to get together, hang out a little bit, get to know each other a bit better, especially for those that are newer to the team. So we kind of do 3 main things. We do course analysis. So we get split off into our teams, usually the teams that will be running in the team event at the championships with, and we get given a course map to analyse. This is the course that's actually set up for us to run later, and we analyse it and we decide on how we would handle it, other handling methods, stuff like that, and we just really nail into this course, get really technical with it. And then, we have a member of the management with us to also discuss it with us and feedback. And then later we actually get to run the course. And we get several goes to handle it differently, see which handling option is best and our areas of weaknesses that we need to work on, our strengths as well. And so that's great. And then, we usually do that, by the way, in the order of our teams. So the order we've decided our team will be running at the championships, just for that practice. We also did some relay practice there as well from, where you're in the 4 corners, which was good. And then the third thing is we have individual meetings. So at the first training day this year, we all had a one-to-one meeting with Greg, just to go through things, that we wanted to talk about with him personally on a more one-to-one basis, instead of doing it while everyone's there, if that makes sense, because it only benefits the individual. And that was really helpful. So those are the main things that happens at a Team GB training day. So number 2, I like this question. What are your go-to breakfast ideas? So I've made 2 lists. One is a normal day and one is a show day, because obviously the timings are a bit different and what I'll get up to in the day. So on a normal day, and I have this every single morning without fail now, and I probably have for at least a year, is oats with milk, honey, fruit and peanut butter. Microwave oats, just your standard Quaker oats, warm oats, absolutely cannot go wrong. My favourite thing ever. I'm at the point where stuff like this tastes like dessert to me. Like it is so good. But other options is yogurt with honey, granola and fruit. So, just natural Greek yogurt with those things mixed in. This is currently my afternoon snack, but you can have it for breakfast. Still a really good protein-rich breakfast if you want it as breakfast, but I have this at 4 p.m. as a snack between lunch and tea, because I'm not going from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. without food. No. Toast, bagels or crumpets with peanut butter and banana, or peanut butter and jam, or all 3 if you're feeling really, adventurous. Can't go wrong. To be fair, in my personal experience, that doesn't really fill me up enough for breakfast. That, again, would normally probably be a snack. I find that oats are the most filling thing to have for me, and keep me fuller for longer, so I'm not wanting food at an hour, 2 hours after my breakfast, ideally. But you can obviously have your toast, bagels or crumpets with toppings on for breakfast. I'd say this is probably a better breakfast if you're going to have something to eat and then half an hour later go for a run, do a workout, do agility immediately, if that makes sense. Whereas the oats, you have them and then they can settle over the course of the next however many hours until you exercise. And then finally, granola or Weetabix with milk, fruit and peanut butter. As you can tell, I like having fruit and peanut butter. Oh, and honey, obviously. I like having peanut butter with pretty much everything. It is my favourite thing of all time. But you could just have your granola or your Weetabix or any other, I say on any other cereal. I'd try and stay clear of the more artificial cereals. Stuff like natural. Natural is always better, with less artificial flavourings and preservatives and stuff. But granola goes a long way. Weetabix also goes a long way with lots of fibre. It keeps you nice and full. So I don't tend to have any other cereal except those 2 because they're higher quality and keep me fuller for longer, and the macros are just better. By macros, I mean protein, carbs, fats, stuff like that. Again, you want to be starting your day with mainly high protein, but also enough carbs and fibre to keep you full for longer, give you energy first thing in the morning. That's what works for me anyway. So those are my sort of breakfast ideas for a normal day, but like I said, I've only really had the oats for a long time. Like, they're my go-to. Show day, overnight Weetabix cheesecake. Okay, hear me out. So 2 Weetabix, crumble it in the bottom of a bowl. Add milk, stir, leave to set for like 5 minutes, just there, out on the side. Then get your yoghurt, 100 grams of yoghurt on top, whack it on top, layer it out, so it's level. Fridge overnight, wake up, add your toppings. I usually add, you guessed it, honey, fruit and peanut butter. And you have yourself overnight Weetabix cheesecake. So you've got your Weetabix and your yoghurt. That's going to keep you so full. And that's perfect for a show day for me, because I usually end up having breakfast at like 5 or 6 a.m. So it's going to keep me full for a long time, and also fuel my runs throughout the day. It may feel a little bit heavier than, say, just yogurt or a piece of toast or something, but like I said, usually when I have my breakfast, I have at least 3 hours until I actually run. So it's perfect. Another thing you can do is do your overnight oats. So obviously make your oats and soak them overnight. And that also works really well. All you have to do for that is add the ingredients for your chosen overnight oat recipe and just put it in the fridge overnight, same thing, and then add your toppings in the morning. If you like cold oats, that's perfect. I do have quite a few recipes over on my social media for overnight oats. If you want to go check those out, they're all slightly different, but yeah. So those are my go-to breakfast ideas. Number 3 is, what dog training or fitness podcasts do you listen to or recommend? So, funnily enough, I don't listen to agility podcasts. At the moment, I just don't. I don't know why. I don't know why. I actually don't know why. I listen to fitness and psychology podcasts mostly. I don't know why. I just find them more entertaining and more informative to listen to. I feel like I already, not in a cocky way, but I already know quite a bit about agility. I do my own agility podcast and stuff. And a lot of my life, well, pretty much all of my life is agility already. So I do like to listen to fitness and psychology podcasts. They tie into agility really well and are 2 things that I am really passionate about working on within myself and dedicating time to outside of agility that directly do benefit agility. So some of my favourite fitness podcasts. So first of all, the Not So Fit Couple podcast. That's actually been discontinued, unfortunately, at the moment. But there are some really good episodes on there. There's like a backlog of episodes that a lot are quite recent. It only ended a few weeks ago, I believe. But yeah, that's really good and really funny as well. Then you've got the Mental Reps podcast and the Gym Girls Locker Room podcast. The Gym Girls Locker Room podcast is paused at the moment. They're going on a little hiatus like I did with this podcast after season 1, but I have heard that that's coming back. Then you've got the Raw Reality podcast and the Unfuck Your Fitness podcast. So those are, I'd say, my 5 top recommendations for fitness podcasts. I also, and this isn't a fitness, this is more of a psychology podcast, but my go-to podcast at the moment, although it's not fitness, is Do You Fucking Mind? And it's so funny. It is so funny and so informative about psychology and just dealing with life and basically just like changing your perspective. And the host, she's just brilliant. She's so funny. I'm always like crying laughing while I'm listening to it. But it is also really informative. So although not directly fitness related, that is my favourite podcast at the moment. So go check those out. Number 4, what are your tips for developing did I say that right? Developing discipline to train and work on yourself? Great question. And this is something that I'm constantly working towards myself. So first of all is to clarify your why and remind yourself of it every single day. So what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you trying to develop discipline to train and work on yourself? Why are you trying to do that? Why are you working on yourself? Like, if you were content with how things were at the moment or how you're at the moment, you wouldn't have the drive to want to train and work on yourself, which is a great thing. Like, we all need that little push. But why are you doing it? So for example, I'm training, in the gym every day to be a better handler for my dog so that I can succeed more in competition. That's a pretty strong why. And to be honest, to work on yourself, your why could be, I want to feel better in myself. I want to walk around my day-to-day life feeling more confident. in everything I do. That's huge. That's life-changing. So that could be your why. So making sure that you know why you're, doing these tasks that require discipline is super important. And just remember, discipline over motivation, always. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is constant. Visualize your end goal and imagine the pride of reaching it. So what do you want to achieve? So, in the gym, often people want a certain physique goal, but for me, it's kind of more performance-based. So what are you working towards? So maybe that is a specific competition that you want to, do well at or get a certain result at in the upcoming months. So imagine yourself getting that and winning that competition and how proud you will feel of the work that you've put in to get there. And often visualization is really, really sort of powerful because it makes you almost desperate in a really healthy way to get to that point. You're like, oh, it's so close, I can imagine it now, I just need to make it happen. I did have a podcast with a psychologist a couple of episodes ago, The Psychology Behind Competitive Sport. If you guys want to go and check that out, I'd say that was my favourite episode of all time. I absolutely love recording that. And we did dive into visualisation in that episode too. And then finally, choose your hard. So this is really powerful to me. The moment I heard someone say this, I was like, wow, that's so true. So you can one hard is to either remain in your current situation, which is hard because if you want to work on yourself and train and develop, then you obviously want to be in a better situation. So that's hard because you're going to stay in your current situation that's clearly not good enough for you. Your other hard is to challenge yourself, which is hard, and improve your circumstances. So they're both hard, but obviously the latter is a better hard, if that makes sense. Number 5, someone said, I don't have contact equipment. Is there anything I can train at home that will help? Absolutely. First, mat work for running contacts. Even if your dog actually knows running contacts on a plank, on a full dog walk, it's good to revisit mat work. It can never hurt. Mat work is the foundation. So you can do mat work literally wherever you are. So definitely mat work. And if you have stopped contacts, or even if you have running dog walk and A-frame and a stopped seesaw, nose target. So you can train a nose target again. As long as you have the target, you can train that wherever, whenever you are. You can do stuff like 2 on 2 off on a ramp or off the stairs or anything like that. And finally, my online running dog walk course will literally take you through these steps. And most of that course is without equipment because I know a lot of people are in that position and it's totally normal and there are always ways to work around it. So if you're interested in my online running dog walk course, which is currently in a sale, you can get money off from it, then please do get in touch and I will be delighted to work with you. Number 6, have you always wanted to work with dogs and have your ideas changed much? So to be honest, I've wanted to work with dogs for as long as I can remember. I did pursue a career in social media marketing, as you all probably remember, during 2022, but I did soon realise that it wasn't what I authentically wanted to do with my life in the long term, and I just kept coming back to dogs, and I'm currently working towards my dream of becoming a full-time agility instructor. So in the new year, all being well with my foot, I will be starting a job teaching agility at the Field of Dreams, alongside getting my own business started alongside that. So that is super exciting. That will replace my current online job that I'm doing at home right now, which just is not fulfilling me, if I'm honest. But yeah, so exciting things coming up, big changes, big transitions. In the thick of those, people say when you're in your 20s, it's all change and it's scary and it's all like, figuring your life out. That's what I'm in right now. Number 7, how do you get your dog to collect before a jump? So do your grids, because grids will just make your dog more aware of their feet and their jumping style in general. Work on your tight turns. So if your dog is really good at turning, they're more likely to start to prepare for that tight turn as they take off for the jump. And remember to always give clear and timely cues. So if you're cueing a behaviour on a jump, so say a tight turn, make sure that you give that tight turn cue nice and early before your dog takes off, so they can take off going into that behaviour in the right way to collect. And make sure you're super clear with that as well. Nice, clear, loud voice. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just keep practicing these basics. You can also do proprioceptive work such as Cavaletti poles. They are part of Arrow's regular strength and conditioning exercises, his little routine that I have posted before, I believe. But yeah, all of that helps. Again, it is usually the basics, a bit like mat work, that, warrants the greatest results in the long term. Number 8 is, what are your agility goals for 2025? Great question. So, number 1, we'll start from the beginning. So, win at least one class at Crufts. I think after winning every class bar one, because of a poll, at this year's Crufts, my goal is to at least win one at next year's Crufts. I think that is a realistic goal. Number 2 is to run in the main arena at Crufts. So, whether that is to qualify for ABC, medium ABC in the main arena, which we'll be able to do from Olympia, if I can run at Olympia, in December on the Wednesday. Whether it's that or, again, Agility Dog of the Year or Jumping Cup through the YKC. But just at least once run in the main arena again at Crufts, because it literally was the best experience of my life. Number 3 is make Team GB again, but this time for both EO and AWC. But at least EO again. And like I said, whether that's this coming year or the next or the next or the next 1 year, I would love to make both EO and AWC in the same year. So big goal, but we've already made EO, so I'd like to do that again, obviously. And then if we can better that and make AWC too, that would be phenomenal. And then with this in mind, go clear at both events at least once. I didn't have any clears at EO this year, so I'd like to go clear once at least at EO next year if I get on. And then if I do get on AWC, clear at least once there too. The next one is qualify for and go clear at Olympia. So obviously I'm meant to be competing at Olympia this year. So I know I've already qualified for it, but next year I want to qualify for it again and then one up that by going clear there. Might go clear there this year if I can run there, don't know. But at the moment, that's the goal. And then, for example, if I go clear this year at Olympia but don't place, then next year would be to place. But if I do, say if I came third this year, then I'd want to come second or first. Do you know what I mean? So my goals are always trying to slightly one up my last year's results, if that makes sense. That is pretty much how I set my 2025 goals. I know this question isn't how do you set goals, but that is how I set goals. And I find that really helpful. So just an insight in how I came up with these goals. Then my last goal my last goal that I can think of is qualify for at least one class across 2026, obviously, in both the YKC ring and main arena. So I have one chance this year to qualify for the main arena, a non-YKC main arena event at Crufts 2025, and that is at Olympia. If that doesn't happen, then that is something that I want to do next year, whether that's medium ABC, Crufts singles, champ, anything like that. And then I've actually just thought of another goal. Champ final. Go clear in a bloody champ final. I'm actually going to add that right now as we speak. Go clear in a champ final. Perfect. I forgot about that because I have been in several champ finals this year but haven't quite managed to clear. So yeah, go clear in a champ final 2025 would be great to get the ticket. But again, starting with just one-upping last year, which was make finals but not go clear, next year, go clear. So with goals, I think it's really important not to set them too unrealistically high because that's actually a lot of pressure and can be quite demotivating, at least for myself. So yeah, one up your previous results. It's literally you against you. Your only competition is yourself. Think that in your head. I know that's not technically how agility competitions work, but in your head to you, just compete against yourself and your previous performance. And that is really motivating and satisfying for me. So yeah, those are my 2025 goals. Might come up with more as time progresses. Number 9, what is your training plan leading up to Olympia? Lol, so my injury has greatly restricted my training plan. Obviously can't do a lot because I can't really walk. However, looking on the bright side, these are the adaptations that I've made to my training plan. that are realistic. So for Arrow, we're doing skills training 4 times per week. So that's just little skills in the garden, includes weave, seesaw, jump skills. Course running at least twice per month, ideally once a week. But yeah, playing that by ear, as obviously I need lifts and stuff like that to go at the moment because I can't drive yet. But yeah, course running at least twice per month. And then strength and conditioning 5 times per week. So I'd say that's the most important thing we're doing at the moment. And then he's still getting his 1 hour of walking per day, but with my mum, bless her, obviously, because I can't walk. And then for me, I'm doing strength and conditioning 6 times per week. So I'm doing roughly an hour of strength and conditioning work at home. So weights, core, stuff like that. And then I'm also doing yoga once per week to keep myself mobile and flexible and make sure I basically don't lose my athleticism during my injury. Number 10, and to be honest, I would do that even if I didn't have Olympia. But as far as Olympia-specific stuff goes, I'm very, very limited. So I'm just doing what I can, and that is all you can do, right? So number 10, what level of agility do you want to reach? AWC? ? So basically, I feel like, again, not to sound cocky, but I'm already at a very high level, being on Team GB and stuff like that. So again, a bit like the goals, I just want to improve my performance at the level I'm currently at. So I'm already competing internationally, but I just want to do that better, if that makes sense. So I want to keep competing at an international level. And yes, that does include at AWC. That is one of my goals. And I want to start medaling at international events, ideally. So I want to keep competing internationally and start getting those clears and hopefully then start medaling. So that is what I really want to reach, is to be medaling and podium and getting on the podium at those international events. So yes, AWC does come into that. You are correct. Also, things like winning the non-YKC events at Crufts and, being on the podium in those, getting podium at Olympia and events like that, etc. And obviously, I want a ticket with Arrow. And I'd love to make Arrow a champion by the end of his career. So, yeah, that's kind of the level that I would like to reach. So, number 11, God's sake. Number 11, will my dog ever have an actual dog walk? Will my dog ever have an actual running dog walk, or am I screwed? And I love you for this question. I know who sent this question in. But remember, it took Arrow 4.5 years to fully master a running dog walk. And you who sent this in, your dog is still a baby. You're fine. Okay, don't panic. Your dog looks great. Your dog will have the running dog walk. I didn't think Arrow would ever have one. His were atrocious for so many years, but we kept persevering and we got there. So will you. Big up my G. That was so cringe, sorry. Right, 12. What are your expectations for Team GB tryouts next year? So let's be honest, they're in February. I'd normally be prepping by now. I can't due to injury, and I probably won't be able to prep specifically for that until the new year, because Olympia at the moment is what I'm working towards, which is end of December. So I'm going to have less prep due to injury. So I'm just going to have to kind of accept that that's just how it is. So I think that means my expectations are slightly lower than they would be if I wasn't injured right now. However, I still want to improve on last year's performance. So mainly I want to improve my consistency. So I didn't get a ton of clears at last year's tryouts. And this year there isn't a development team, is there? So it's going to be harder for me to get on. I'm kind of fighting with literally the best medium dogs and handlers in the country for those top spots, because there's less spots than last year because of development and it being in the UK this year. So, next year's in Portugal, going to take less dogs, going to have to fight even harder. But ideally, I'd like to get more clears and be more consistent in general. Those are my expectations, because we have a year's worth of experience now that we didn't have when we tried out last year. So that is my general expectation, to improve consistency. And obviously, my number one goal, as always, is to win on, ideally. You want to win on. Obviously, the hardest way to do it, but the most guaranteed way to get a spot, obviously. So, yeah, not saying that's an expectation, but I don't really want to have expectations as much as I want to have goals, if that makes sense. So you can only go in doing what you can do, and that's pretty much it. What happens, happens, as long as you've done your best in the build-up. Despite your circumstances, then that's all you can do. So number 13, what are your best sprint work tips? Number bloody 1 is don't break your bloody foot, okay? But seriously, no, before I broke my foot, I was doing 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So sprinting and then resting. Sprinting for 40 seconds, resting for 20 seconds, as many times as I could until I was dying, dead and gone. And then obviously you don't want to just be doing sprinting, you know, in a straight line, because agility is a lot of footwork and it's a lot of movement, changing direction, etc. So incorporate your footwork drills as well. So you can get those online. Football drills is a great place to start as far as, you know, searching up routines to do and stuff like that. But you want to be doing your footwork drills on top of that. And if you do sprints and footwork, then eventually you'll be able to combine them and do your footwork drills faster. But yeah, still do include those explosive straight line sprints, obviously, but don't neglect the footwork. Number 14 is a great question, and one I've got quite a few times before, and that is, how do you deal with pressure? So, you know, I'm not going to lie, pressure I still do find quite tricky. I think it's always going to be a bit tricky, but I'd say gain as much experience as possible and give yourself time to improve your resilience. So don't rush yourself. Pressure, you know, dealing with pressure takes time and experience. So just keep going to shows, different events, you know, gain as much experience as you possibly can. And in time, you know, your resilience to pressure will naturally improve. Number 2 is learn that other people's opinions of you are irrelevant to a certain extent. So obviously you want to have a good reputation, but don't get yourself het up about what other people think about you, as far as, you know, if you go wrong in a competition, or if you handle this part of the course in a strange way or something like that, or, you know, if you do something different to everyone else, it doesn't matter what people think about those things. So that really relieves the pressure and takes a weight off your shoulders when you realise that's something that you just don't have to worry about because it's simply out of your control. So number 3 is super important. That is to have a consistent pre-run routine that promotes a focused and positive headspace. So come up with a pre-run routine that you do with your dog or on your own every single time you compete. And that's kind of your mental cue to get in the zone. Like, that will get you in the mental headspace to sort of try and keep calm, forget about the pressure and just concentrate on the job at hand. This may incorporate your warm-up routine. You know, you may do your dog's warm-up routine, give your dog to your groom, then go and do your pre-run warm-up routine. While listening to music, say, or maybe you do it next to the course as you watch the course, or anything that helps you have that consistent pre-run routine. Don't stray from it, and yeah, that really helps me. Number 4 is to zoom out and gain perspective by asking yourself if this will matter in a few months or years. So what I try and do is, even if it is a big event, I try and think, like crufts, for example, if I'm on the line, or in the queue, I have to think, probably not thinking that on the very line, but in the queue, or day before, when I'm feeling the pressure a little bit, I'll remind myself, will the result of this particular event matter in 2 years, say, when I've had 2 more crufts? No, probably won't, if that makes sense. So if it goes terribly now, I'll be over it before I know it, you know, and I can improve on it, and then that memory will take away the pain of this quote-unquote failure, if that makes sense. So zooming out and thinking this actually isn't the be-all and end-all, and, you know, there's a lifetime of other things that I can do and succeed at, and, you know, I can try again next year, and in, you know, life is long, and in a few months or a few years, this particular thing you're feeling the pressure over probably won't matter to you at all, and you know, people will have forgotten about it, and you'll have had new experiences and achieved other successes. So that's super helpful. And then finally, remind yourself that pressure is a privilege and something that you're lucky to experience. So, for example, right now, I'm injured, I can't do agility, I miss the pressure. While I'm in the pressure, I'm like, this is horrible, this pressure is not nice. But now I'm like, I miss the feeling, the butterfly feeling of adrenaline and that pressure to do well when you're on the line. So being able to do something that causes pressure is a privilege. So feel lucky and enjoy it. And number 15 is, what has getting injured taught you? Now we're going to get deep, internally crying right now, but the main thing it has taught me is to appreciate and enjoy the mundane tasks and routines that we often find boring. Oh my God, all I want to do is get up and walk arrow and go to my Wednesday training class and do agility for 2 hours and go to the bloody gym and just wander around the gym between exercises instead of having to do it in one spot in my room. Stuff like that. Never take those for granted. I will never take those for granted again. Number 2 is to be mentally resilient. Like, to be honest, I am struggling to be mentally resilient with this one as it is impacting pretty much every aspect of my life. But yeah, you know, you kind of got to go through challenging times that force you to show a bit of mental resilience to become more mentally resilient. So I'm hoping I come out the other side of this injury with more mental strength and resilience for other things, because let's face it, it's not going to be the last negative thing or inconvenient thing to happen, and it's probably not going to be the last time I have a setback. That's just life, and you know, the more you do, the more you risk having setbacks, if that makes sense. But you know, I don't regret any of it. Yes, maybe I overexercised. Yes, maybe I did too much at one point, you know, but I feel like so far I've had a very exciting, very full life, which I think is better than having sat around not risking anything going wrong. So it's kind of thought processes like that it's teaching me. Number 3 is to be patient and trust the process. When it's something to do with the body, it's kind of a bit like dog training. So say you're training a running dog walk, right? Training a running dog walk from scratch and injuring yourself and waiting for it to heal, same thing. You just have to follow the motions, go through the motions of the process, the healing process or the training process. Keep doing it, keep building up gradually. As the injury heals, you can start building up more gradually. And as your dog gets better with their running contacts, you can start building up from the mat on the floor to the mat on the plank to the dog walk. You've just got to trust the process and be patient, because all of these processes, any process takes time, and there's no point rushing it. Because if you rush it, if you try and run before you're healed, you'll go back to square one, you'll re-injure it, and then you'll have longer until you're better. Running dog walk, if you move your dog on before they're consistent at the previous behaviour, they'll just get more confused and you'll have to go back to the foundations again and keep going back because they're just not getting it, because you never stuck to one stage of the process for long enough, and ultimately it's going to take you longer to get to that end result. So that is a big lesson I've learned. Another one is that the body is fragile and you have to look after it every day if you want it to function well. I definitely have overdone it before. I have a little bit of a self-diagnosed exercise addiction. I just love it so much. Gym, running, everything. Bloody love it. Nothing feels better. It's great for the mental health. Great. Like, I'm addicted to those endorphins. However, you can't just batter your body. You have to remember that if you do too much, your body will break. That is how it is. And a stress fracture is that. It's stress. I'm not giving my body enough rest. I've basically hammered it too hard and it's finally gone, nope, too much. I haven't looked after it. So yeah, that is what I've learned to do and will be doing for forever. The next one is that if you don't take a break when you need one, your body will force you to take one due to injury or illness. God's sake, just take the break before something happens, because prevention is better than cure, and I'll be doing that from now on. Literally schedule yourself breaks and don't feel guilty for it. Do nothing for a day or 2 days, sleep in, do whatever you need to do. If you feel like you're really tired or burning out or overdoing it, or, your body aches or you're feeling like a cold's coming on, just rest before it gets bad. Just do it. Otherwise, you're going to have to take one eventually anyway, and it's going to probably be when the situation's even worse, and then it's going to take longer to get over. So that's a huge one that I've learned, and I just wish now that it hadn't taken this for me to learn that, but I'm telling you guys so you don't get in a similar position. But most of you probably aren't psychopaths with exercise like I am, so you're probably fine. But it's not just exercise, studying, anything, working, anything. You can overdo anything, especially when you're passionate about something. But even the things we're really passionate about, we need breaks from, for both the body and mind. I sound like a Buddha or some shite, but anyway, you know what I mean. And finally, that if you have your health, then you literally have everything you need. Stop moaning about the little things. And, I'm a bit of a moaner. I'm a bit of a glass half empty a lot of the time. And I'm having to teach myself not to be, trying to change my perspective. But, really, no matter what's going on in your life, if you're healthy, you're fine, you're good, be happy, be grateful. That's pretty much it. If your body works and is healthy and your mind works and is healthy, you're in a pretty good spot, and that's really all you need. Let's not be greedy with other aspects of life. I know it's really hard, but yeah, I've just learned to just be happy with that basic bare minimum of health, really. And finally, we've got a little bonus question, and I also know who sent this, and again, I love you for it, but how do you deal with men? This made me giggle, and I could not leave it out. I had to tag it onto the end, and unfortunately, my answer is inconclusive, and I don't think I or any of us will ever figure that out. But we're in this together, and yeah, that just put a smile on my face, made me laugh out loud, lol. But that is all of the questions for this month, guys. I really do love a Q&A. It's 40 whole minutes. My episodes are never 40 whole minutes. That's fantastic. But anyway, that is the Q&A for this week. If you want any more advice on any of the questions I've answered, please do get in touch and I will answer them in more detail with you personally. If you have any further questions, then next month I'll be doing another one of these and you can ask me more questions then if you thought of anything else or if you didn't get to submit them this month. And yeah, what's next? So what is next in my life? Oh yeah, healing from my injury. Not a bloody lot, except the fact that I am podcasting with Greg Derritt on Thursday, so tomorrow when you listen to this, and that will be out on Wednesday. So we will be talking about the EO hosting, God's sake, the UK hosting EO this year and everything involved with that and Team GB and management, etc, etc, etc. So I can't wait for that conversation and I know you guys are going to love it and I haven't even had it yet. I've been planning this one for a while now, had it in the back of my head for a long time. So that will be exciting. Keep your eyes out. Make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss it. And also make sure you're following me on all of the social medias, especially Instagram. And I'm trying to get better at TikTok, as I say every week. At Pause in Pursuit, you can find me on pretty much everything. Go follow. Oh, dropped my phone on my face. I know most of you already do follow on all of those. And please do give the podcast a cheeky rating or review, ideally 5 stars, if you're feeling generous on this fine Wednesday evening or whenever you're listening to this. But that is all from me, guys, and I will see you all, well, I'll talk to you all next week in Greg's episode, so get excited for that. Thank you for listening. Bye, guys.